They laughed, actually laughed. In my own kitchen, around my own table, my sister Carol and my brother Dennis had the audacity to laugh while discussing what they would do with my house after my passing. When she dies, we decide who gets her house. Those words emerged from Carol's mouth as casually as if she were ordering lunch. My name is Vivian Marshall. I am 72 years old and have lived in Asheville, North Carolina my entire life. Before I recount what transpired next, I would like to know where you are watching this from. Please share your city and state in the comments, as this story will illustrate why it is essential to protect yourself, regardless of your location. Now, let me take you back to when this nightmare began. It was a Tuesday morning in March when my doctor delivered news that changed everything: stage 2 breast cancer. He assured me it was treatable with a good prognosis. However, when you are 72 and hear the word cancer, your mind does not register treatable. It hears a ticking clock. I had been a widow for 6 years. My husband Frank and I had built our life together in a beautiful craftsman home we purchased in 1978. It had 4 bedrooms, a wraparound porch, and mountain views that took your breath away every morning. We raised our daughter Jennifer there and hosted every Thanksgiving, Christmas, and family gathering for 45 years. After Frank passed, that house became everything to me. Every creaky floorboard held a memory, and every room echoed with laughter from decades past. Jennifer had relocated to Seattle for work, but she called every Sunday without fail. She was my rock, my heart. Yet, Carol and Dennis had been circling like vultures ever since Frank died. Carol, my younger sister by 4 years, had married a man who made poor business decisions repeatedly, leading them to declare bankruptcy twice. Dennis, our baby brother, was 58 years old and still acted as if money grew on trees. With his gambling habit and his third wife's shopping addiction, he was always one step away from foreclosure. I had helped them both over the years, lending thousands of dollars that were never repaid. I co-signed for Dennis's car and even paid Carol's property taxes one year when she was on the verge of losing her house. Because that is what family does, right? After my diagnosis, I made the mistake of mentioning that I was updating my will. I wanted everything in order to ensure that Jennifer would be taken care of and that the house she grew up in would belong to her. It seemed responsible and logical. That was when they began visiting more frequently. Initially, I thought they genuinely cared. Carol brought casseroles, and Dennis mowed my lawn. They inquired about my treatment, drove me to appointments, and sat with me in waiting rooms. I was touched. Perhaps the cancer had brought us closer. What a fool I was. The mask did not slip until a Tuesday in late April. After returning from a chemotherapy session, utterly exhausted and nauseous, I went upstairs to lie down, but found sleep elusive. I returned downstairs for some ginger tea and overheard their voices in the kitchen. That was when my entire world shattered. I stood frozen at the bottom of the stairs, gripping the banister so tightly that my knuckles turned white. Their voices were clear through the quiet house. The location alone makes it worth at least $600,000, Dennis said. Maybe more. Have you seen what houses in this neighborhood are going for? Carol responded, her voice sharp with excitement. We split it 50-50. When she's gone, we petition the court together. Jennifer's all the way in Seattle. She won't fight us, especially if we claim Vivian promised us the house for taking care of her. My blood ran cold. What if she has already changed the will? Dennis asked, worry creeping into his tone. Carol laughed, actually laughed. So what? Wills get contested all the time. We have proof we've been her primary caregivers. We've been documenting everything, every meal we bring, every appointment we drive her to. We'll argue that she wasn't in her right mind during treatment, the chemo fog. We'll get a lawyer to claim she was coerced or incompetent. Jennifer will lose her mind, Dennis said, but he sounded almost gleeful. Jennifer abandoned her mother to move across the country for a job, Carol shot back. We're the ones who stayed. We're the ones who've been here. When she dies, we decide who gets her house. The courts will see it our way. I pressed my back against the wall, struggling to breathe quietly through the nausea that had nothing to do with chemotherapy. These were my siblings, my blood, people I had helped countless times, trusted and loved, and they were plotting to steal my daughter's inheritance right out from under her. Dennis spoke again. What about selling it? We could both use the money now. Carol replied firmly, we have to wait. If we push too hard while she's alive, she might catch on. We play the devoted siblings, document everything, and when the time comes, we make our move quickly. Jennifer won't know what hit her. When the time comes, Dennis echoed. They were discussing my death as if it were merely an appointment on their calendars. I wanted to storm in there, scream at them, throw them out of my house, and tell them exactly what I thought of their disgusting plan. But something stopped me. Perhaps it was the survival instinct developed over 72 years, or the clarity that sometimes accompanies shock. If I confronted them now, they would simply deny everything, twist it into excuses, or even accelerate their plans. No, I needed to be strategic. I crept back upstairs as quietly as I had come down, my heart pounding so hard I feared it might give me away. I climbed back into bed, pulled the covers up, and stared at the ceiling while my mind raced. They believed I was dying, that I was weak, vulnerable, and easy prey. They thought they could take everything Frank and I had built and leave Jennifer with nothing. I closed my eyes and allowed a small smile to cross my face. They had no idea who they were dealing with. That night, after Carol and Dennis finally left, I sat at Frank's old desk in the study. My hands trembled, not from the cancer or chemotherapy, but from pure adrenaline. I needed to think clearly and devise a plan. First, I called Jennifer. She answered on the second ring, as always. Mom, how was treatment today? Hearing her voice nearly broke me, but I maintained a light tone. Tiring, honey, but I'm managing. Listen, I need to ask you something important. Can you take some time off work in the next few weeks? Of course. Is everything okay? Is it the cancer? I'm fine, sweetheart. I just need your help with some legal matters, estate planning, paperwork, that sort of thing. But Jennifer, this is important. Don't mention this to Carol or Dennis. You know how they worry. There was a pause. Jennifer had always been perceptive. Mom, what's going on? I'll explain everything when you get here. Can you come down next week? I'll book a flight tonight. After we hung up, I opened my laptop. Contrary to what my siblings believed, I was not a technologically helpless old woman. I had taken computer classes at the senior center and knew how to research. For the next 3 hours, I immersed myself in property law in North Carolina, estate planning, and ways to protect assets from will contests. The information was overwhelming, but certain facts became crystal clear. Carol was right about one thing. Wills could be contested. If my siblings claimed I was not of sound mind during my illness and presented evidence of their caregiving while painting Jennifer as an absent daughter, they might indeed have a case. Not a strong one, but enough to tie everything up in court for years. Jennifer would spend her inheritance fighting them instead of grieving her mother. That was unacceptable. I continued reading, determined to find a way to protect her and ensure she received what Frank and I had always intended for her. Then, around midnight, I discovered it. A living transfer. If I sold or transferred the house while I was still alive, there would be nothing for Carol and Dennis to contest. The property would already belong to someone else before I died. However, I could not simply give the house to Jennifer. My siblings were watching too closely now. Any direct transfer to her would raise immediate red flags. They would claim I was being manipulated and might even challenge my competency before the transfer was complete. No, I needed something cleaner, something they wouldn't see coming until it was too late. I thought about Frank and what he would do in this situation. He had always been the strategic one, the chess player who thought 5 moves ahead. I could almost hear his voice. Vivian, the best defense is a good offense. An idea began to form. It was bold, perhaps even a little crazy, but the more I contemplated it, the more perfect it became. I would sell the house, actually sell it, to a legitimate buyer through proper legal channels, everything above board and documented, and Carol and Dennis wouldn't know until the deed was already done. The next morning, I waited until I heard Dennis's truck pull away. He had started visiting every morning to check on me before I made my calls. First, I contacted Rebecca Chen, my attorney, who had handled Frank's will and had been urging me for months to update my own estate planning. Rebecca, I need to see you today. It's urgent. Her assistant tried to inform me that she was fully booked, but Rebecca picked up the line. Vivian, what's wrong? I need to sell my house immediately, and I need it done in a way that's absolutely bulletproof. There was a long silence. Come to my office at 2. Don't tell anyone you're coming. Next, I called Sarah Edmonds, my real estate agent from when Frank and I bought the house back in 1978. She had remained a friend ever since. Sarah, I need a favor. A big one. Name it. I need to sell my house quickly, very quickly. I need a buyer who won't ask too many questions but will pay fair market value. Can you help? Sarah had known me for 45 years and sensed something in my voice. Are you in trouble, Viv? Not yet, but I'm about to put a stop to those who think I am. Give me until this afternoon. My final call was to my bank. I wanted to know exactly what accounts I had, what was in Frank's name, what was in mine, and what options I had for moving money around quickly if necessary. By the time Carol arrived at noon with another casserole, I was ready. You look tired, she remarked, scrutinizing my face as she entered the kitchen. Did you sleep okay? Like a baby, I lied, accepting her kiss on the cheek. You're so good to me, Carol. That's what family is for. Where's Dennis? He left around 9, said something about running errands. Carol placed the casserole in the refrigerator and turned to me with a smile that did not reach her eyes. I've been thinking, Viv, you should probably consider making things easier on everyone, in case the cancer. In case I die, I interrupted bluntly. She flinched. Don't say it like that, but yes, maybe you should consider what would be simplest for Jennifer, especially since she's so far away. The burden of managing your estate from Seattle, dealing with the house, all of that. Wouldn't it be easier if Dennis and I handled things? We're right here. I took a sip of my tea, watching her over the rim. What a thoughtful suggestion. She brightened immediately. You think so? Because Dennis and I were talking and we really think. I'll definitely consider it, I interrupted. In fact, I have an appointment this afternoon to discuss some estate matters. Carol's eyes sharpened. With who? Just some financial planning, boring paperwork stuff, nothing to worry about. I could see her wanting to push for more details, but she couldn't without revealing her hand. Well, call me if you need a ride, she finally said. I will. After she left, I smiled. The game was on. Rebecca's office was in a converted Victorian downtown. I had always loved the high ceilings and original woodwork, but today I barely noticed. I was focused on one thing only. Tell me everything, Rebecca said the moment her assistant closed the door. I recounted every word I had overheard, every ugly detail of Carol and Dennis's plan. Rebecca's expression grew darker with each sentence. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair. Those absolute vultures, can they really contest my will and win? Win? Probably not. But they could drag it out, make it expensive, and cause pain for Jennifer. She tapped her pen on her desk. Your idea about selling the house is actually brilliant. If the property isn't part of your estate when you die, there's nothing for them to contest. But Vivian, you need to understand that once you sell this house, you'll need somewhere to live. I've thought about that. I can rent an apartment or perhaps move closer to Jennifer. And your siblings will know the moment this house sells, the deed becomes public record. Let them know. By then, it will be too late for them to do anything about it. Rebecca studied me for a long moment. You've really thought this through. I've had ample time to reflect lately. She opened a legal pad. Okay, let's do this properly. To make this ironclad, I need to document your mental competency. I'll have you evaluated by a psychologist I trust. We'll get your oncologist to provide a statement that your medication and treatment aren't affecting your cognitive abilities. We'll document everything so thoroughly that even if your siblings try to claim you weren't of sound mind, they won't have a leg to stand on. How long will all this take? I can have most of it completed within a week if we move fast. My phone rang. It was Sarah Edmonds. I'm putting you on speaker, I told her. My attorney, Rebecca Chen, is here. Perfect. Ladies, I think I found your buyer. My nephew Marcus just moved back to Asheville from Charlotte. He's a cardiac surgeon at Mission Hospital. Divorced, no kids. He's been looking for a house in this neighborhood specifically. When I told him about your place, he jumped at it. Did you tell him why I'm selling? I asked. Absolutely not. As far as he knows, you're downsizing due to your health and want to move closer to family out west, which isn't even a lie. Will he pay fair market value? I already pulled the comps. Houses on your street have been selling between $550,000 and $650,000. Yours is one of the nicest. I think we could ask $600,000 and he'd take it. He wants to see it tomorrow. My hands trembled. This was really happening. Rebecca, can we move that fast? If he's serious and can secure financing quickly, yes. Or if he's paying cash, even faster. He's paying cash? Sarah said. He sold his practice in Charlotte. Money isn't an issue. I glanced at Rebecca, who nodded slowly. Set up the showing, I instructed Sarah. After I hung up, Rebecca reached across her desk and squeezed my hand. You're one tough lady, Vivian Marshall. I had a good teacher, I replied, thinking of Frank. Now, let's ensure my daughter receives what she deserves. Jennifer flew in the next morning. When I picked her up at the airport, she took one look at my face and pulled me into a fierce hug. Whatever it is, Mom, we'll handle it together. In the car, I explained everything. She listened in stunned silence until I finished. Those absolute. She stopped herself, breathing hard. Aunt Carol and Uncle Dennis, I can't believe it. Actually, no, I can believe it. Remember when Dad died and they tried to convince you to sell his coin collection to help with expenses? I had forgotten about that. They said it was just gathering dust. It was worth $40,000. Dad had been collecting those coins since he was a boy. Jennifer's jaw tightened. They've always been like this. I just didn't want to see it. Well, now we're going to do something about it. I explained the plan, and Jennifer's eyes widened. Mom, that's actually genius, but where will you live? I'm 72, honey. I've been rattling around in that big house alone for 6 years. Perhaps it's time for a change, time for me to move to Seattle, closer to you. Her eyes filled with tears. Really? Really. But first we need to get through today. Marcus Chen is coming to see the house at 3. Carol and Dennis can't know about it. What do we tell them? Nothing. Dennis comes by every morning, and Carol usually stops by around lunchtime. If we time this right, they'll never know Marcus was here. When we got home at 11, sure enough, Carol's car pulled into the driveway. Showtime, Jennifer muttered. Carol's expression tightened when she saw Jennifer in the kitchen. Well, this is a surprise. Nobody told me you were coming to town. It was last minute, Jennifer replied coolly. I wanted to see Mom. Of course, family's so important. Carol's smile appeared forced. How long are you staying? As long as Mom needs me. The tension was palpable. I intervened. Carol brought another casserole yesterday. Isn't that sweet? Very thoughtful, Jennifer said, her tone implying otherwise. Carol left 20 minutes later, clearly unsettled by Jennifer's presence. Good. Marcus arrived promptly at 3. He was around 45, with kind eyes and an easy smile. Sarah had briefed him on the situation, enough for him to understand the importance of discretion. He fell in love with the house immediately. I watched him run his hand along the original woodwork in the hallway, test the solid weight of the doors, and admire the craftsman details that Frank and I had preserved over the years. My grandparents had a house like this, he said quietly. Same era, same style. I've been looking for something like it for 2 years. In the kitchen, he gazed out at the mountain view. This is perfect, absolutely perfect. Sarah caught my eye. She knew we had him. I'd like to make an offer, Marcus said, turning to face us. Full asking price, cash. I can close in 2 weeks. Jennifer grabbed my hand. I accept, I said. Just like that, the house where I had lived for 45 years belonged to someone else. Now, I simply needed to keep Carol and Dennis from discovering it until it was too late. The next 10 days were the most stressful of my life, and that includes receiving a cancer diagnosis. Rebecca moved heaven and earth to expedite everything. The psychological evaluation occurred within 48 hours, and I passed with flying colors. Naturally, my oncologist provided a detailed letter stating that my medication had minimal cognitive side effects and that I was fully capable of making important decisions. The home inspection, appraisal, and title search all happened in rapid succession. Marcus's loan officer, though he was paying cash, still went through the bank for tax purposes, expediting the paperwork. Throughout it all, I had to pretend everything was normal with Carol and Dennis. Dennis showed up every morning like clockwork, and Carol came by with food every other day. They both repeatedly inquired about my financial planning appointment, clearly fishing for information. Just boring paperwork, I replied each time. You know how it is. Jennifer was magnificent. She played the role of the devoted daughter, thanking them profusely for taking such good care of me, complimenting Carol's casseroles, and assisting Dennis with yard work. She was so convincing that I almost believed she didn't harbor any resentment toward them. At night, after they left, we would sit at the kitchen table and plan where I would live, how we would move my belongings, and what we would do with 45 years worth of accumulated possessions. Keep what matters, donate the rest, Jennifer suggested. We'll find you a nice condo in Seattle, within walking distance to me. You'll love it, Mom. On day 8, Carol caught me packing a box in the bedroom. Spring cleaning? She asked, her eyes sharp. My heart nearly stopped. Just going through some old clothes. You know how much junk accumulates. She walked further into the room, studying the half-filled box. You're packing a lot for someone who's just cleaning out closets. The cancer has made me reflect on things, about how much stuff I've accumulated and how little of it actually matters. Her expression softened slightly. Well, when the time comes, Dennis and I will help Jennifer sort through everything. Don't worry about that. When the time comes. Those words again, as if my death were an approaching holiday. If you are enjoying this story and want to hear more like it, please hit that subscribe button right now. You won't believe what happens next. On day 12, Rebecca called. We're ready to close. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. Tomorrow? I breathed. Marcus will wire the funds tonight. Tomorrow, you'll sign the papers, and he'll sign the papers. The house will be his. Are you ready? Was I? This was the house where Frank and I had built our life, where we had raised Jennifer, where every room held memories I'd never regain. But those memories resided in my heart, not in the walls. More importantly, this house represented Jennifer's future, her security, everything Frank and I had worked for. I'm ready. The next morning, I informed Dennis that I had a doctor's appointment. I told Carol the same thing when she called. Jennifer drove me to Rebecca's office in silence. Marcus was already there, appearing nervous and excited in equal measure. Rebecca laid out the papers. Let's do this, I said. With a signature, 45 years of history became the past. The house was no longer mine, and Carol and Dennis remained unaware. I waited 3 days to let the deed record, 3 days to ensure everything was legally bulletproof, and 3 days to move my most treasured belongings into storage. Then I invited Carol and Dennis to lunch. They arrived within minutes of each other, both surprised to see the other. I had told each of them that I wanted to discuss something important about my estate. Jennifer was there too, which I had not mentioned. Carol's smile faltered upon seeing her. What's this about? Dennis asked, looking between us. Sit down, I commanded. Something in my tone made them comply immediately. I dropped the frail, sick woman act. This was me, the woman who had raised a daughter, built a life, survived losing her husband, and was beating cancer. I need to tell you something, I began. Last week, I sold this house. The silence was deafening. You what? Carol finally exclaimed. I sold it. The closing was 3 days ago. The deed has been recorded. The new owner takes possession next month. Dennis's face turned red. You can't do that. This is our. He paused. Your what? I asked quietly. This is your house. That's not what I meant. He backtracked quickly. I just mean this is a family decision. You can't just sell the family home without discussing it with us. Actually, I can. It's my house, or was. Carol had grown very still. She was the more astute of the two, already calculating. Where are you going to live? I'm moving to Seattle near Jennifer. We've already found a lovely condo. This is Jennifer's doing, Dennis said, pointing at my daughter. She's been manipulating you, trying to get you away from us. Stop, I said, my voice sharp as a whip. Jennifer has nothing to do with this. This is my decision, mine alone. But why? Carol's voice was now pleading, desperate. We've been taking care of you. We've been here for you. Why would you do this? I know what you said. Carol froze. What? I heard both of you 6 weeks ago in this kitchen. You thought I was upstairs resting, but I came down for tea. I heard every word. The color drained from Carol's face. I heard you discuss splitting the money 50-50. You planned to contest my will, claiming I was incompetent and documenting your caregiving as proof you deserve this house more than Jennifer. That's not. We were just, Carol stammered. You were planning to steal my daughter's inheritance, I finished. Don't bother denying it. I know what I heard. Dennis stood abruptly. You had no right to listen to a private conversation. In my own house, I had every right. I stood too, facing them both. You want to know the really sad part? I would have helped you, both of you, if you had just been honest, if you had simply asked. I would have found a way to help, but you couldn't do that. You had to be greedy. You had to prey on me when I was at my most vulnerable. Carol was crying now. Vivian, please, we're family. Family doesn't do what you did. Dennis found his voice first, and it was ugly. You're making a huge mistake. We'll contest this. We'll prove you weren't in your right mind. Rebecca stepped out from the study where she had been waiting. I wouldn't recommend that, Mr. Marshall. Dennis turned to her. Who the hell are you? Rebecca Chen, Mrs. Marshall's attorney. And before you threaten legal action, you should know that we've documented everything. Mrs. Marshall underwent a full psychological evaluation, and her oncologist provided a comprehensive statement about her mental competency. Every step of this sale was witnessed, notarized, and recorded. You have no case. We'll see about that, Carol said, but her voice trembled. Furthermore, Rebecca continued, if you do attempt to pursue legal action, Mrs. Zank Marshall is prepared to testify about the conversation she overheard, the one where you discussed exploiting her terminal illness. It's not terminal, I interjected. The cancer is stage 2. My prognosis is excellent. Actually, you should have seen their faces. All their planning and scheming based on the assumption I would be dead within months. And here I was telling them I would be fine. You lied to us, Carol whispered. I never lied. I told you I had cancer. You were the ones who assumed that meant I was dying. You couldn't even wait for an actual terminal diagnosis before you started circling. Dennis's anger morphed into panic. The house is worth over $600,000. $600,000 exactly, I corrected. I obtained a fair market price, and that money is going into a trust for Jennifer and my future grandchildren, should I have any. We're your family, too, Carol shouted. You're punishing us for one stupid conversation. People say things they don't mean. You meant every word. Jennifer spoke for the first time, her voice cold. You've been documenting your caregiving for weeks. You've been building a case to steal my inheritance. Don't pretend this was just talk. Carol turned on her. You don't understand what it's like, Jennifer. You left. You moved across the country and abandoned your mother. We're the ones who've been here. You've been here counting down the days until she died so you could cash in. Jennifer shot back. I think it's time for both of you to leave, I said quietly. Vivian, please. Carol reached for my hand. I stepped back. Get out of my house. Well, Marcus's house now. You have no reason to be here anymore. You'll regret this, Dennis said, his face contorted with rage. When you need help, when you're really sick, don't come crying to us. I won't, I promised. I have actual family. People who love me for who I am, not for what they can take from me. They left, Dennis slamming the door hard enough to rattle the windows. Carol was still crying. Jennifer came and wrapped her arms around me. I was shaking, the adrenaline finally catching up. It's over, she whispered. Mom, it's really over. Not quite, Rebecca said gently. We need to discuss one more thing. I looked at her. Your will. Let's make sure it's absolutely ironclad, and let's ensure Carol and Dennis are not included at all. The moving trucks arrived 2 weeks later. Marcus graciously allowed me extra time to sort through everything, even though the house was legally his. He stopped by a few times during the packing. Once, he found me crying in the kitchen, surrounded by boxes. Second thoughts? He asked gently. No, just 45 years of memories. It's harder than I expected. He sat down across from me. My grandmother had to leave her home when my grandfather died. She told me something I've never forgotten. The house is just the container. The love that filled it goes with you wherever you go. I wiped my eyes. Your grandmother was wise. She would have liked you. He smiled. And for what it's worth, I'm going to take good care of this place. It deserves to be loved. It does. And I think you'll love it. Jennifer and I packed up the essentials. Frank's photos, our wedding album, Jennifer's baby pictures, and a few pieces of furniture that had belonged to my mother. The rest we donated or sold. It was liberating, actually, letting go of things that had weighed me down without my realizing it. Carol called twice. Dennis sent angry texts. I blocked both of their numbers. My oncologist was thrilled with my progress. The chemotherapy was working better than expected, and my prognosis had improved from good to excellent. Your positive attitude probably helps, she remarked during one appointment. I pondered that. Perhaps she was right. Standing up for myself, taking control of my life, and fighting back against those who sought to exploit me may have given me a reason to combat the cancer as well. The condo Jennifer found in Seattle was perfect. 2 bedrooms, one for me and one for guests, with a small balcony overlooking Puget Sound and within walking distance to Jennifer's apartment. The day before I flew to Seattle, I visited the cemetery where Frank was buried. I sat by his headstone and shared everything with him. I hope I made you proud, I finally said. I hope I did the right thing. The wind rustled through the trees. Frank always said that was how he would communicate from beyond, through the whispers of wind and leaves. I chose to believe he approved. On the plane to Seattle, Jennifer held my hand. No regrets? She asked. I thought about it, really thought about it. None, I replied finally. Carol and Dennis had shown me exactly who they were. I would rather be alone than surrounded by people who viewed me as a bank account or an inheritance waiting to happen. You're not alone, Mom. You have me. I know, sweetheart, I've always known. 3 months later, I am settled in Seattle. My hair is growing back curly after the chemotherapy, and I kind of like it. I have joined a book club, made friends with my neighbors, and Jennifer comes over for dinner twice a week. I heard through a distant cousin that Carol and Dennis are barely speaking to each other now. Apparently, each blames the other for their failed scheme. As for me, I am 72 years old, I beat cancer, I protected my daughter's future, and I am living exactly where I want to be. They laughed when they thought they could steal my house. I smiled when I sold it right out from under them. And I'm still smiling. Please subscribe to my channel. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. With love and respect.